Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. Today is Last of Us Day. I'm a little behind, a little late, but we're still here. We're doing it, okay? So, episode 7 came out yesterday, and it's called Left Behind. And if you don't know, the DLC for the original Last of Us was named Left Behind. So, that gives you an idea of what was going to happen in the episode. And today it was a little bit of backstory with Ellie, with her friend Riley, who is basically like someone that she loves and cares for. And we kind of get to see a little bit more about like how Ellie was bit and her relationship with Riley, and how they were together, and how Ellie's life was like in Fedra military school, and how she never really fit in anywhere she went. So basically, it followed the entire DLC. There was kind of small changes, but nothing huge, so nothing to really complain about. Um, Something I did not like was that fact that we didn't get to see more. I wanted more. So in the DLC, you don't get to see in the game. You get to see Joel gets hurt. He was stabbed in this episode, but in the game he fell into rebar and was like puncture wounds. Um, you don't get to see Left Behind with like Ellie reflecting back on how she got to where she was. You only got to see her go out and go hunting after Joel gets hurt, and she goes out and hunts. And then it goes into what's going to be episode 8, which is next week. So she meets David and James and their crew, and it goes down a whole thing. That's for next week. So in the game, you don't get to see that part of it. You had to wait for the DLC to come out, which is downloadable content after you play the game, and it was a little while afterwards. And it was a little bit of background story with Ellie. Left Behind was a lot longer than that, of course, because Ellie had a lot more to go on. And let's face it, it was a game, so you had to have some gameplay in there. You had to have enemies coming after you. You had to get one point A to point B, and there's a lot more infected, a lot more enemies, people that you have to kill to survive and protect Joel. That didn't happen in this. That's fine. It was mostly all of Ellie and her friend Riley. So Riley comes to get Ellie, and she takes her on a the Wonders of the Mall tour. So she takes her to the mall. Ellie's never been to the mall before. Ellie finds out that her friend Riley has left Fedra because Riley's been missing for like 3 weeks, and Riley joined Fireflies. So Fedra's enemy is the Fireflies. So they joined the enemy that Ellie's being taught to kill, which is the Fireflies. So they have some conversations with that. Riley explains to her that this might was important to her because they were going to be sending her out to Atlanta, so she was going to leave Boston. So this was like their last chance to see each other, and so this is kind of like Riley's goodbye to her. And they get on the carousel, and they put on these Halloween masks, and they just have a grand old time at this mall. And it was very similar to the DLC in these scenes, and I appreciated that. There was a couple little differences, like they get attacked by one infected. They get attacked by, I don't know if that was necessarily Clicker. I think it was a Stalker. I think that was Clicker-ish Stalker stage. So there's Runner, Stalker, Clicker, Bloater, and there's, I think, a couple more in between. But anyway, so a Stalker attacks them. And Stalker's basically a runner that's turning into a Clicker, but they can still see. In the game, it's more than one infected that they're running from, and they're literally like running away. And then they have like this one last scene where they're fighting somebody. They're almost out of the mall, and then they both get bit. In this one, it was just one infected that gets them, and they both get bit, and they kill the infected, and so they just hang out in the Halloween store. You could see the devastation in their face. You could tell that, like, this is it. And they hug each other, and they just say, we're gonna just wait it out and lose our minds together and be all poetic about it. And I was really hoping that we'd see a little bit more of that, because that's pretty much where the DLC ends too. is we see like Ellie gets Joel to a spot where she can keep him and she can suture him. And that's where the DLC ends, and that's where the show ended. I was really hoping to see like what happened then. Like, did they literally just sit there for however long it took Riley to turn, or what did they do? Like, when did Ellie decide to leave? Did they both leave and then Riley just turned and Ellie got away from her? Did Ellie have to kill Riley? We never know. And so I was kind of hoping with this show that we would see that, because we've seen little background stories for other people. I was really hoping for that. We didn't get it. Joel kept trying to get Ellie to leave, saying, just leave me behind, go back to Tommy, get Tommy to help you. Ellie had nothing to do with it. You think that maybe she's leaving. If you didn't play the game, if you didn't know what was going to happen, I'm sure some people thought she's going to leave him, because she looked like she got mad and she was going to leave him. But really, she was barging out the door, and that's when her background story with Riley started. And she actually was going through the house trying to find a needle and thread. So she does suture up Joel. This injury is a lot more realistic. I know a lot of people are upset about the fact that Joel's injury is not the same in the game. Well, this stab injury is a lot more realistic as far as combat goes, and it was only like 4 people anyway. But it was more realistic for him to be able to recover, because in next week's episode, Ellie's going to get in a lot of trouble, so Joel's going to have to get involved and save her. But it has to be believable that Joel's able to like bounce back after like just one shot of like antibiotics. So that's kind of how it has to be. We have to be a little realistic, guys, in what we show and what we like I'm involved on what they do, because it just makes more sense. And of course, I would have loved to see more infected in this season. I would have loved to see more like combat. It's just not practical. Like, why would, other than in a game scenario, why would hundreds of soldiers and people who just are bad people go after these 2 people? Seriously, especially if they're like killing all of you. Why do you keep going after them? It just doesn't make sense in the real world. Game world makes sense because you have to have that. TV world, not so much. So we gotta kind of give them a little leeway here. So this was episode 7, and there's only 9 episodes this season, and so it makes me nervous. We are close to the end of the first game. We are close. Once you meet David, and you get through the David storyline, it goes really fast. So that means we're going to be, next episode is going to be David's storyline, and then the episode after that, we're going to meet the Fireflies. So spoilers, that's what's going to happen. It's really fast. I feel like David is going to be, I'm worried David's going to be rushed. David's storyline, it's a big impact in Ellie's personality and thought process of what happens with her in the David situation. So I hope we don't rush it. I'm just nervous. Makes me nervous for season 2. I keep saying this, but it's how I feel. I'm nervous about season 2 because I don't feel like we're ready for part 2, The Last of Us Part 2. I feel like we're not ready for that scenario unless we handle what's in the 4 years before part 2, because part 1 and part 2 are 4 years separate. Unless we do that, I don't know, guys. I'm nervous because then we're out of content. So we're only going to get 2 seasons because they're still working on part 3. Part 3, from what I understand, is like still in the writing stages. So, sorry, I'm shaking. My hand's shaking. Part 3 is still in like the writing stages. They're still talking about it. It's not even 100% definite that I'm aware of. Correct me in the comments, but I'm nervous. I'm nervous about it because I really care for this franchise, just like a lot of people in the story. So it's nervous to see it just be rushed because there's so much there and we just want it a little bit longer. So next week we do get to see Troy Baker. He plays James, which is David's main henchman, main guy. You can see him in the previews. He's telling him, David, this isn't a good idea. The people aren't going to be happy about this. James doesn't really have a big role in the game, but it looks like we're going to see James quite a bit, and that's because he's played by Troy Baker, and if you don't know, Troy Baker is the original Joel. So I doubt he's going to sound like Joel from the game. He's probably just going to sound like his usual voice, but it's special that he's there. Ashley Johnson is supposed to be in this, so at some point we're going to get a flashback of Ashley Johnson, who plays Ellie's mom. That's what we're saying, is playing Ellie's mom is Ashley Johnson. So I don't know if we're going to get her in the last episode. And it's just like a kind of a flashback of like Ellie becoming who she is, like being born, and then Marlene knowing about her, and that's how Ellie and Marlene have a connection again. I don't know how they're going to work that into it, but that's supposedly coming up still too. So we have two important people that we need to see, because Ashley Johnson is the original Ellie for the games. So we have two important people to see. So hopefully we'll get to see them soon. 2 episodes left, guys. I know last week I did I had the episode playing in the background. You could hear it, and I paused it and talked about it. I wanted to do that this week. Technology was not cooperating with me, and I really didn't want to wait until technology decided to do anything. The weather's been really bad here, like storms and stuff like that, so internet sucks today. So I didn't want to wait, because I always do it on Mondays. So I'm like, I'm not doing it. So that's why it's the way it is today. I think I had a little bit of a better response when I did that, so I do want to do that more. It's just gotta go with the flow here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up. Make a comment about what you thought about the season so far, and give me a subscription if you like what I do here, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!